definitely hold that thought like for the end. We'll chit chat about like at the roundtable discussion. We only have about 3 questions, so we'll be able to roundtable discussion a little bit, and then we'll get it close. Um, it's interesting. So here I got you. There, like our notes will cover it, and so let me know if it does or not. Because when your wife feels numb to the relationship, she's going to, like, she's 100% going to. That comes from just like an overwhelming bombardment on the nervous system. And so I'm gonna go a little woo-woo about it right now. So let me title this. Let me show you this stuff. Let me pull up my notes. And then we'll do the questions. But I think that this is gonna be really important for you guys, especially when it comes to this whole process and it comes to everything that we talk about. Now, this is kind of cool, and this has to do with. So I think a lot of people overlook the actions, thoughts, belief pattern. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And I think a lot of people overlook the power of the combination between the decoding worksheet and then not just tracing back your actions, thoughts, belief pattern, but going back to your wife's actions, thoughts, belief patterns, and just not necessarily assuming, but making a good college guess, right? Um, because when you go into active listening, you're going to need to know her deeper than she knows herself, right? That's just what's going to allow you to connect with her. Okay. Normally, right, people aren't connecting. Like there's miscommunication in language all the time. The way that I say, like, hey, fuck you versus, hey, fuck you. Same sentence, right? Two different meanings, like completely. If I post this little lesson on YouTube, it's gonna get demonetized, but oh well, right? So it's an important lesson. Now, in order, so there's a couple of things. Okay. In order to understand that pattern, you have to realize that there's a relationship that's going on there. And I just it's funny. I was talking to my mentor about this, and then I was like, besides like it's very interesting. Besides like obsessing like why people get together and then like why people break apart. Another thing that I recently was told by a couple of colleagues of mine and then my mentors, like studying the language patterns of like billionaires, uh, because they're just like us, but their minds are like hyper optimized in like how they view themselves, how they view mindset, and all that stuff. So it's very interesting. So I've been having a lot of insights. But now to help you guys unhook, okay, especially from certain belief patterns, um, which is these are just some preliminary notes. This is going to go into the Man of Steel mindset portion, probably towards the end to like really hone things in, lock them up before you get into conversations, right? But when we talk about the actions, thoughts, belief patterns, I want you guys to realize that we're talking about a point A to point B association, okay? Who, like, there's stuff in the middle, but normally when people create a philosophy, an ideology, there's a hierarchy in the mind, right? That happens. And as you'll see, Maslow's hierarchy, right? There's a hierarchy in the mind that causes point A to point B associations. Okay. And based on your understandings, based on your experiences, and just based on the subconscious and the opposites, right, that happen, most people just connect point A to point B with whatever suits their narrative. Okay. So let me copy and paste these. Can you guys see this all right? All right, cool. Let's admit people. So to understand beliefs and how to break them, beliefs are like a line from point A to point B. You need to understand that these can be broken and reformed. Like you can turn a circle into a triangle or a square and interchange them. Okay. Now, the biggest thing is that you have to understand how your mental state is and how the subconscious speaks. The subconscious speaks in binaries. So when you say yes, you're also saying no to something, okay? All at the same time. So when you believe something, let me copy and paste this. You also believe that there is an opposite of something. So when I say hot, you also think cold at the same time. When I say yes, you say no. Okay. This could also be done with people, right? Like for instance, most people, if they're in affairs, they think affair or affair partner, they say fuck that. They say no, like that's horrible. That's the worst thing in the world, right? Um, I don't care about any really political associations. I love everybody. But most people, when they hear Trump, they either hear one or two things: good, bad. Okay. Most people, when it comes to the military, they either hear good, bad, right? And whatever associations. And we have love for everybody here because we're all people. We all go through our own stuff and our own beliefs, and that's the beauty of the world. Even a, pig farmer who doesn't speak any, who speaks Creole and has no education whatsoever has something to benefit this world. So when you believe something, you also believe that there's an opposite, right? Now, the core of understanding and how to shift and create new beliefs is understanding how this binary is stacked in the mind and how it's determined and used to form what we believe. Okay. Let me see if I put this. Let me see if these are okay, cool. That's towards it. All right, cool. So this process gets reinforced through self-fulfilling prophecies, okay, and experiences in life, this creation of beliefs. Okay. The event occurs, and then our subconscious, whatever this AI shit is starting to annoy me. Okay. That when I highlight something, stop. I don't want to refine it. So the event, I have to turn that setting off. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, this is ruining my flow. Uh, so this process is reinforced, creating beliefs. Okay, is reinforced through self-fulfilling prophecies, where if you speak it, then you're looking. It's called RAS, the reticular activation system. We talk about in the course. Okay, and how you're searching for that. So if someone says that they're unlucky, they're searching for anything to solidify that they are unlucky. And I'll talk about something that I went through. The event occurs when our subconscious creates a point A to point B association that hones in the belief we have. For instance, right, I have a friend who's like into this survival stuff, really, really, really deeply into survival, like knives, guns, survival kits, prep, you name it. And I was talking to him and I'm like, hey man, so you realize like you're unconsciously saying like the world is dangerous, right? And he goes, oh no, no, no way. I'm just protecting myself. And I'm like, well, have you ever been even into a fight? He goes, no, but you never know. I'm like, well, you got to be careful. And he goes, well, it's just something like every couple of years I get into an accident of some sort. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it doesn't matter. Like I've had to do workman's comp. I've slipped and fallen. I think like, I'm gonna drive my car until till I run it into the ground or get into an accident and the wheel falls off. Right. And it's very interesting. There's some more woo-woo stuff we could talk about, but it's very interesting about self-fulfilling prophecy because everything, all the point A, point B associations that he was creating is that the world is unsafe and that he also gets into accidents. He's very accident prone. This is why I tell you guys your I am is very, very important. You have to be careful because when you say I am, you're also saying I am not, right? So much so that after we met, he left, just drove down the road. I was like, we can hang out some more. And he's like, nah, I got to go home. I got to do this, this. And I was like, okay, cool. I literally go to the grocery store. It's like 2 minutes away from me. Somehow I've always lived by a grocery store. I love it. I could just literally 5 minutes right there. Um, and I shit you not, I drove past him. He got into it's Florida. I don't know how it happens. I genuinely don't know how it happens. He got into a fucking car accident and his goddamn wheel fell off. Literally, right? It's crazy shit. It's it's wild how it happens. Okay. So you got to be very careful. And so I'm teaching you how to unhook and how to realize we have a lot of A to B
Lost, I guess.
causation. Okay. Now, um, where is this? Okay. Let me copy and paste this. So this gets assigned a number or a score of compartmentalization in the brain. Okay. Those A and B associations, those beliefs, right? Those causations, all that stuff. It gets assigned a hierarchy score in the brain. It has to do with survival mechanisms and all that whatnot that we talk about in the course. I'm just for purposes of this brief explanation, you know, I'll just, that's there. Okay. Meaning that when we place more points or weight to a scenario on the side of reinforcement or not, when it comes to a certain topic without needing an external event. So that means we assign this point, this weight, whatever you want to say, to that scenario and be like, of course, this is going to either reinforce my belief or break my belief. Now, the most successful people, right? And so I put this right here. Some people can easily do this and go from one idea to another, and that's completely okay. The most successful people that I've learned studying billionaires and just studying people who are highly successful, they're very fluid in their mentality. They're always constantly learning, which means they're always constantly proving and disproving at the same time themselves. And so that's why I tell you guys, hey, look, you have one lens of the way that you view things. You have to, if you want to, understand this other lens. Okay. Um, and you'll see the language of some of the guys, especially in hot seats, or like the language of the post for guys that are very successful, like in this, and they just like take this stuff and run with it. And that's why we've had some very quick turnarounds that last. It's all mindset. It's all mindset. It's those peaks and valleys I always talk about. And the way to tighten that up, mindset, all mindset. And so, since this is dealing with the subconscious, this happens exponentially. So your subconscious, like I told you guys, it's kind of like instead of you clicking on the application on your screen, the subconscious is all the code that's happening in the background with what your brain is just picking up. It's in constant just learning mode, right? To keep you safe, all this other evolutionary stuff. Okay. Now you have to be careful. You have to be very careful. We talk about this in the mantra uh, and the emotional healing process modules. You have to be careful of this programming that's going on in the world. God damn. Because you inherit limitations that you're going to have to break free from, right? So this is a common limitation. Money doesn't grow on trees. Okay. That's something that I've had to unlearn from my parents, my dad specifically, because he always believed in hard work. And now, while work is hard, he was always coming from a lens of like physical labor. My dad's been a contractor since he was 18. I've worked with him since I was 13. Um, he's been in this game far too long. But because he had this mindset, unfortunately, he never saved up. Like he didn't learn how to go look for this kind of stuff. He just like he was always in like a very scarcity mindset. You'd have to work so hard for it. And so, when I was younger, especially in the military, because that paycheck is a very sad paycheck for everything that you do. Uh, but they always talk about this. You'll hear it from everybody, right? And that's something that you inherit from your parents, but it's not true. Like money can pop up anywhere. Like nowadays, you can learn on YouTube, right, how to simply just make some cash. I know an uncle who's in his 70s who started a Shopify store and it does pretty well, right? He's a smart guy. He's always a tech guy, right? But I know people who are like, I think one of my nephews is like 12 years old and he's learning to hustle. I'm like, be a kid, but yeah, like good on you, make money. But knowledge is everywhere. I was like, how did you do it? YouTube Academy, straight up. So there are these subconscious processes, right, that we have to learn from and understand. You learn, and we talk about this with the mantras, right? This is why I really hone in, and you got to post your mantra. You got to go through iterations with me. Don't be bare bones about it. Hit it hard, hit it home. You got to learn things from you learn things from your parents, peers, the media, social media, personal anecdote experiences in society that causes those pressures. Okay. This then feeds the bias on how we misinterpret everything, willingly or unwillingly. Okay. Some people just want to be stuck in where they're at, and that's okay. But if you want to be successful in this, obviously you cannot do that. Right. So this is the powerhouse tool of our enemy. Okay. Um, so when we want something reinforced, a strong belief, okay, we're usually adding those points to that belief no matter what is going on. And your wife, so like for instance, Colton, I believe you asked that question. When your wife is feeling numb, she's tired, she's given up, she's like, F this, I'm moving on. It's because she looked for so long for those points of you to prove her wrong, but all she ever did, and this comes from the misinterpretations, popcorn brain, all that stuff that we talk about, all she ever did, and this is because of the reticular activation system, all she ever did was end up seeing things that just wore her down and reinforced the negative belief. Okay. Now you have to think of, and this is where it gets a little woo-woo, and this is where I want to, you know, stick mainly more woo-woo to the course, to the module that I'm going to be doing. But you have to think about it like this, okay? When it comes to beliefs, it's 2 points, right? Um, Everything that we do in this world is energy, right? And that energy can all be contained in a container. We're a container, right? We create containers, and traditionally square shapes, right, which are unnatural, they don't happen in nature, contain energy, and we create those, right? Those are 4 points, right? So while you're going through this, you're basically breaking apart the points, okay? Actions, thoughts, beliefs, or result, actions, thoughts, belief. So you see how that's a square, result, actions, thoughts, belief, okay? That pattern is containing a negative belief, right? Or positive, right? You can have positive action, thought, belief. That in order to convert that, this is a little more woo woo, you have to understand those points, break those points, okay, turn them from like a literally like a square to a circle, because in nature, more circular objects, right? That's what they say, like ancient literature and stuff, ancient architecture as well, has more circles to allow energy to flow through. If you go look at like great old ancient buildings, they had some archway. If you go look at Apple, this is crazy shit. If you go look at Apple, when it became the most popular, is when those square corners became round edges. Okay. Then it just started taking on a life of its own. If you go look, right? If like look at my screen, these buttons used to be square, but now they're round. It's more pleasing, it's more appealing. That energy exchange is better. Whereas in like, yeah, I've done marketing split tests, right? A round button versus a square button versus rounded corners, right? When it comes to like conversions and stuff like that, rounded corners are more inviting. You'll see it everywhere. Once you go look at it, you'll see it everywhere. Okay. So that circle energy allows things to flow through. And you have to kind of imagine when you're tracing back those actions, thoughts, belief patterns. If you want to take it more woo woo, you want to take it a little bit more, okay, cool. I can go through the steps, right? Like how Noah is doing. What I'm doing on a very deeper level, an unconscious level, is I'm having you convert that container into a circle, because that's where your thought and your energy is flowing. You're like, okay, what are the actions? What are the thoughts? What are the belief patterns behind all of this? And then I have you convert it Okay. And I don't even tell you, I tell you to do the results, but I don't really focus on the results, on the positive. Okay. Then I have you convert it into a positive actions, thoughts, belief pattern to create a triangle in the mind so that it reinforces that new belief, because that's the strongest shape in nature. Um, so I'll go a little bit deeper in the modules, a little more woo woo, because all you're doing with those, I'm telling you, like this is all you're doing in order to get from one place to another, have a point A, point B relationship. So your hook is somewhere in between that point A to point B relationship. Okay. For instance, like like for like affairs, right? Oh, the affair, the dude she's cheating with, he's the enemy. No, he's not, right? Break that belief. Well, how do you know he is? What if he doesn't even know about you, right? What if your wife has said some pretty bad things and that's just her bleeding point, right? Break that belief. Like, okay, now when? Well, that happened back then when there was a lot of bleeding that went on in the marriage. There was a lot of unspokenness, lack of leadership, so on and so forth. Okay. Then I take you, you're in a circle, win, right? Flip it now. Well, this is what you're doing now in order to lead, in order to plant seeds, in order to break those patterns. That's why you'll see guys. This is crazy. I forgot who told me this on Voxer recently. But that's why you'll see guys as they start changing, okay, especially with the process that we do over here, as they start changing, happens like clockwork. Why now? Why did it take this event to happen for this to take place within you? Okay. And this is kind of cool if you guys like this stuff. But that's your wife trying to break out of that boxed belief that she has. She's like, I can't fucking see a way out of this. Like, what is, she's literally trapped on all sides in her mind without even knowing. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? Right. It's pretty cool. But that's why I also teach you guys third and fourth person view and all that other stuff. Um, but I thought that this is pretty cool. I thought that this would kind of show you like, if you guys want to unhook, find out your action, thought, belief pattern or your point A to point B association. Okay. Now think about it. Think about when that happened. Put yourself in that other person's shoes, right? Or wear her meat suit, as we talk about. Okay. That changes that box and makes it malleable because you're like, okay, well, why? Yeah, when? How? Then it becomes a circle. The energy flows. You can think about things. You're like, huh, how? Wait, what? What's going on? Oh, this is why. And then when you have that epiphany or you have that traceback moment and that conversion from negative to positive, or you just understand something deeper. Sometimes men will grieve or feel ashamed, okay, which is totally fine because they now understand and they create that triangle within that mind, that stronger belief, okay, of like what actually transpired. And then that gives you those eureka moments, pushes you forward, and that's how you unhook. Okay. Sometimes those hooks have hooks within them, and then hooks within those, and it's a constant process. I don't ever expect you guys like I still have some hooks. I don't expect you guys ever to like unhook. Like anytime a guy goes, dude, I'm completely unhooked. I'm like, yeah, okay, for now. Like, there's probably something deeper in there, because it always happens, right? This is just a process that happens in your mind, and you have to literally just take a step back and observe it, and then you could play with it, break it, rebuild it. Okay. So that's how you kind of do that. The module will be a little bit more in depth, but just wanted to share that with you guys. Any questions on that?